So yes, welcome to Celsius, to this new group and the kickoff meeting. It's really great to meet you all. Obviously, I'm a new face to the team for those of you who have been involved previously, and I'm new to Johannesburg Science Park as well. I just joined in August, or at the end of August, sorry, and I'll be working on this project and some other European projects. I'm interested in all sorts of energy issues, so very excited to be part of this group. So I'll hang over. We've got a set of slides. We've got a guest speaker and some experts to chat with you all today. But it is an informal group, so if there's any questions, if you want to just jump in or raise a hand or get my attention or somebody else's attention and speak, then please do. Yes, we'd like to get you all talking and sharing information and knowledge. And although I put on a tie for the first time in can't remember how long, it is an informal group, so yeah, so please do come forward as you want to. So bear with me a second. I'm not absolutely brilliant at this, but hopefully it should work. Can you all see my screen? This is where you'll say yes or no.
No.
It's always
No.
No.
Oh, sorry.
Is it coming? Oh, here we go. Sorry, my mistake. One more click.
Okay.
Yes,
That should be
one
better.
thing is coming up here. Yeah.
Thank you. There we go. So yes, so welcome to the Forerunner Group and the kickoff meeting that we have. We did, as I said, it is an informal group, but we put together an agenda, and we want to run through the Celsius initiative and what that is, and the different Forerunner groups. We have our guest speaker here today to talk to you about heat pumps in Europe and obviously how they integrate with all the issues that we're interested in with regards to heat networks. And then we have an introduction from our base experts into the 5 Forerunner groups, who will then run through the programs, the sorts of things that they're going to be able to talk through with you, and sort of the experts you can expect to hear from. We have then an informal discussion period for everyone to join in. I'd love to hear from everyone during that session if possible. I know sometimes that can be a bit daunting, but it would be great just even if it's just to say hello, where you're from and what sort of project you're working on. And then yes, the sort of the how to join and how you can continue to participate. So as I said, my name is Oliver Ingwall-King, Johannesburg Science Park's energy project leader. Lars Larson, as I believe it, Lars, you've been involved with Celsius since the beginning. I think that's right. And Lars has a wealth of experience in all manner of different heat network related technologies, issues, delivery, all those sorts of things. And I'll let Lars introduce himself a bit more in the next slides or so. But also just to introduce Thomas Nowak from the European Heat Pump Association as the Secretary. Sorry, I'll get my teeth in. Secretary General in Brussels. His main responsibilities are the representation of the industry at the European institutions for networking and working with stakeholders in the field of heating and cooling. So Thomas has published several articles on heat pumps and technology and the integration of heat pumps in the energy system, and has spoken on the topic in European and international conferences. He's also been contributing to scientific publications, including the International Energy Agency, Energy Technology Perspectives, and the REN 21 Renewable Global Status Report. I was also really glad to hear that Thomas has invested in renewable energy at his home. That's something I love to hear about. I don't know about you guys. I love to hear about the personal ways in which we're interacting with these things. I was really happy to be able to replace my gas boiler last year with an air source heat pump, but there's enough of that. Moving on to side of things. So we have our base experts who are here to guide you through the different Forerunner groups. So Julia, Pauline, Oksana and Gabrielle are all from Euroheat and Power. They're all taking on different Forerunner groups to help you with different aspects of heat networks. And Jorge here from RDA Climate Solutions, he's looking specifically at finance, which was one of the key issues that was brought forwards for the Forerunner groups. I'll let them introduce themselves a bit more detail when they talk through the different Forerunner groups. Oh, I thought I'd got rid of all of the extra clicks. So Lars, I'll hand over to you here in relation to the overview of the Celsius project. If you want to just tell me when you want me to click through to the next slide.
Yeah, thank you, Oliver. Yeah, as you heard, my name is Lars Larson, and I've been working with Celsius from the beginning. And in the beginning, Celsius was a project that started in 2011. We started working with it. And the reason why we were engaged at that time, that was that we wanted to have district heating on the energy map in Europe. So that was the first ambition we had with Celsius, and I think that was quite successful. And since 2017, it's not a project anymore, it's an initiative that's handled within this organization, and we have 3 parties. And it's Johanneberg Science Park, it's IMCG, and it's RISE. So that's where we are today. And our purpose is to accelerate the energy transition through deployment of smart, sustainable heating and cooling solutions in the cities. And when we say sustainable heating, we also mean CHP in connection with heating systems. So that's very important to have in mind, that it also includes CHP. Celsius, it's a demand-driven collaboration hub. When the project was finished, we said that this was too good to let go. We need to continue with the work we have done within Celsius. So that's why we started this in this format. So we will have knowledge sharing through webinars, newsletter, workshops, and Celsius toolbox. We will support innovation, and we also want to have replication, scaling of pilots and demonstrators. In the first program, it was very important with all the demonstrators. So we will to continue that. We also will influence European policy. And that was, as I said before, that was one of the main goals to engage in this from the city of Gothenburg, and at that time I was employed by Gothenburg Energy as well. It will also be hands-on support for cities through the Forerunner Groups. So that's the way we do it. So next picture, please. For cities, with cities, we want to support cities, supporting one spirit city at a time. We will addressing key challenges. We will have expert advice. We will exchange and inspire each other. We will also make sure that we don't repeat costly mistakes. If one city made a big mistake, please tell the other ones so they don't do it again. And we also say, don't reinvent the wheel. We see in this work that many solutions could be applicable to all cities or other cities. So don't reinvent the wheel. So next picture, please. And the way we will do this is to use a systemic approach. It's very important that we see what will happen in the total system. So if we do one thing in one part of the energy system, what will happen on the other parts? So we will have cross-cutting support. We also want to have sustainable business models. So that will include financing, pricing, replication and scaling, and also organizational models. We will have policy regulations, reduce energy poverty. That's very important in some of the countries. And also, of course, the environmental impact. Integrated city planning. We see that in some places they done something good for just one part of the city, and that will not be good to the rest of the cities. So we want to have integrated city planning. So we will have robust energy system, and it should be rely on renewable energy sources. We also see that it's very, very important with the stakeholder engagement and citizen engagement. So we will creating synergies and also knowledge sharing and to build capacity. So we try to have this on mind all of the time, to have this systemic approach and not only look at the problem in just one way. So you could take the next picture. So if we see what is within the Forerunner Group, what's a Forerunner city, what's a spirit city? If you look at the Forerunner cities benefits there, it's inspiration, expertise and knowledge sharing, networking, right to select spearhead, and possibility to spearhead. The spirit cities, it's same as the Forerunner cities in many ways, but you will have detailed support in project planning and implementation. So we will hope that you will be interested in be a spearhead cities, because then you could address a specific problem or project that you want other cities to help you with. If we look at what is the cost to be involved in this, the cost is that you need to accept time to have interview. You need to participate in meetings, contribute to problem solving, and connect to other projects. We think that this is something like 3 hours a month. So it's no fee except that you accept your time in this. And for the spearhead cities, it's same as Forerunner cities. The cost, it's a bit more time. We think it will be something like 5 hours a month. You need to be transparency, and of course we understand that it's some sort of level in transparency, but you need to be so transparency so you could have the help. You also need to be flexible, so you could see what other could put on the table to help you with. So this is what will be in the Forerunner Groups, and I think that's my last picture, and I hope you think this is very interesting. We think it could be a good way for you to develop more. Thank you.
I made the mistake of muting myself there. So thanks very much, Lars. Thanks for that. Yes, it's a very interesting project. It's one of those things that I know as a city, and I used to work for a municipality in Suffolk. You know, that having those resources available. I mean, you mentioned about the reinventing the wheel and costly mistakes. You know, they're the things that everybody fears, aren't they, at the outset of a project or as the project develops. So you know, I think having that ability to gain on the knowledge and to help you to sort of steer you in the right direction is a fantastic opportunity. So okay, Thomas, I'm gonna hand over to you now. I will to make sure I'm doing this right. I'm not sure I'm doing it the best way, but hopefully it will work. So I've brought your slides, Thomas, into our presentation. So I'll just click through if that's okay for you. Perhaps you just want to introduce yourself a little bit more, and then I'll go to your, or shall I go to your first slide straight away?
That's perfect. Thank you very much, Oliver. Thank you very much also for having me here, Oksana and Sophia, and I don't even know whoever, Pauline invited me originally. I think we had a long discussion. I know Celsius since 2011, I think, and at that time I was always looking up to it a bit because I felt it was so well organized. And also the lobby work was quite successful. Today I'm here to speak to you about heat pumps. I'm running the European Heat Pump Association as the Secretary General now for a very long time, 13 years. And we have made quite a journey from being rejected as a non-renewable technology to one of the cornerstones of the energy transition. including in district heating and in heating in cities. I want to start by saying that I don't see a big conflict between heat pumps and district heating, despite the fact that it's often positioned as such. I was, to the contrary, actually sometimes more surprised that people would say this is a project that's done by district heating, when you think, what's the energy that is then distributed by the pipes? And so we had this discussion, and I said to Paul Voss when he started his job, I said, look, this makes no sense if we start to fight, because my radiators never speak to my boiler at that time, and they don't fight with that. So let's be in a positive looking mood, and let's see what we can do together. And there's quite a bit. So I used this picture of Vincent Calbeau from Paris. Paris, in my opinion, is one of the real forerunner cities in Europe at the moment. They're doing so many things right. Maybe they have done so many things wrong in the past that they need to do so much right. I don't dare to assess that. But if they ever get buildings like this with so much green around the Tour Eiffel, then it will be beautiful. Can you look at the next slide, please? And here I want to start with a question to you. What do you see in this picture? And I didn't prepare any of the fancy answering methods, but if you are knowledgeable in aerial reconnaissance, you would probably recognize the European Parliament's building in Brussels. If you're more techno geek, you will see that there is quite a few air handling units on the roof. And if you think about energy efficiency quite a bit, then you will also realize that this picture shows the wasting of energy. Because this building, and you can read this in detail in the energy report that the European Commission and Parliament are preparing for their buildings, this building is actually using gas for hot water production. And then it's also cooled and ventilated 24/7. So you can imagine that the waste heat from this building would be absolutely sufficient to provide enough heat for the hot water for the sports complex and for whatever else they need. But at the point of design, it wasn't thought about. So they just asked a heating company and a ventilation company and a cooling company to give an offer, and they all built what they were able to do best. Lots of refrigeration cycle technology and some gas boilers. Next, please. And that's what I want to talk about. I think it's most important that we connect heating and cooling and have a look at where we can use the waste heat from cooling and the waste cold from heating. Heat pumps themselves, they are today everywhere. You see them in white goods, in electric cars, in fridges, but you see them also in the area where the European Heat Pump Association is looking at more in commercial applications, in residential applications, in industrial and applications in district heating. And I put this St. John's Ward Tower to the very right of this slide just to push you a little bit in the direction of thinking what really is a district heating system. Is this a skyscraper, or is that a district heating system that we just moved horizontal? And I think that's an important point, because we can also move it back downwards, and then we have to think about how many heat pumps do we need for such a building? Is it one? And some people would say, yes, of course, it's one big heat pump, or is it very many? And then we have just a central loop. Next slide. And then we can go a bit quickly, because here, these are just some of the advantages. We see that heat pumps use renewable energy. They also are very energy efficient, and they reduce CO2 emission. On the next slide, you will see that they are also very useful to balance the electric grid. Oliver, you want to go to the next slide?
I've got the heat pump benefits with air pollution.
Oh, then I don't see anything anymore. Then I'm. That's funny.
Can everybody else see the air pollution screen?
Yeah, good. That's fine. Then I don't see it, but now it's coming. Good. So we have demand side flexibility in the grid and the connection to allowing more electricity from the flexibility that the technology provides. And then we also have benefits when it comes to indoor and outdoor air pollution. We are discussing banning diesel cars from inner cities, but we are allowing oil heating. So I think there is quite a mismatch in what policymakers think is acceptable. Then if we go to the next slide, we see that heat pumps also provide a lot of employment. We counted among our members and a few others, 165 manufacturing sites and up to 83,000 full-time equivalents. Funny enough, these manufacturing sites are quite often at the end of the world. So even for cities that are not so central and maybe don't have an airport and 5 highways and so on, there is quite often a heating company in the vicinity that helps them to provide perspective and employment. On the next slide, we see then what has happened over the past years. We have seen a tremendous growth in heat pump deployment. This is mainly small heat pumps because our data for the very big heat pumps is not that sophisticated yet. But you can see here that we have in 2020 1.6 million heat pumps sold, amounting to 14.8 million altogether. So we have a solution here. Just stay there. I think I need to speed up anyways. So we are looking at green and efficient heating and cooling and flexibility for everybody in nearly every application. And I can say that because this morning we had a meeting of the evaluation group of our heat pump award. And today it is really mind-blowing how many solutions you find for very sophisticated and intricate problems that you may want to solve for heating, and you can use them most of the time either with a heat pump or with a hybrid system, integrating also solar thermal, integrating storage, integrating biomass burners. If it's CHP, I really hope for biomass CHP or for green gases and not for simply using fossil energy. Then if we go to the next slide, we see what the European Commission wants in this context. And here you can see the plan of the system integration strategy. It foresees that by 2030, about 40% of residential buildings and 65% of all commercial buildings should be heated and cooled by electricity. And since the energy efficiency first principle prevails, that means these will be mainly heat pumps. So we can roughly say 50 million heat pumps by 2030. That's a factor 4 over today's installation. And it's not even touching on industrial and district heating heat pumps that also see quite a growth potential and growth pickup rate at the moment. What will be helpful is the next slide shows that the renovation wave communication focuses on the least performing buildings, which are about 35 million in Europe. And if they are renovated, they are either fit for purpose for the last generation, whatever you call it, district heating system, or for current heat pumps as they speak. And let me say one thing, I'm often hearing, yeah, we can only deploy heat pumps if 35 degrees centigrade, and that's simply not true. We have thousands, if not millions of examples where heat pumps work sufficiently and to the happiness of the inhabitants at 55, 60 degrees Celsius. Anyways, so what we are seeing is we have the technology available for both solutions in residential buildings, but also for big solutions in districts, and I will come to that in a minute. The other point from the European Commission is the new targets, because this will be relevant for cities. If you go to the next slide. They show renewable target of 10%, they show energy target and they show 55 the European Commission, and we have to implement them over the course of the next 12, maybe 24 months. And cities will have to execute that too. So there is going to be some pressure on cities to become greener and to become less polluting also in their heating systems. Luckily, there's also there's a new support fund, the Climate Adaptation Social Fund, I think it's called, but I'm always mixing that up. And that could be used for projects like the ones that I want to show now. I took a few examples. Here is the latest addition to big heat pumps that are connected to district heating. The Queen's K in Glasgow in the UK. It's the first of its kind in the United Kingdom, a 2 megawatt heat pump using a green refrigerant. It's for heating and cooling. It will start with 96% of coverage. So there's going to be 96% of all the heating and cooling provided by that heat pump. And if they extend the grid, then this number will go down a little bit, but there's also space for a second heat pump of that caliber. So they may actually move above 100% at one point in the future. Next slide. Here we see the big brother of the one on Queen's K. That's a product that is currently built. It's the district heating plant in Esbjerg. It's a 50 megawatt heat pump, the biggest compressor that you will find when it's finalized in 2023. It's supposed to provide heating for 100,000 users, and the beauty here really is that it will replace an old coal-fired power plant. one of the provider is MAN Energy Systems, and they can do many of these. They're really prepared, and that's what I like also, because these big installations, they bring in competence from players, industrial players from the past. MAN used to build, and they're still doing that. They used to build infrastructure for the oil and gas industry. So now they are using this competence, these engineering skills, in order to also push forward the green energy transition. And then the last, this is a different approach, and that's why I was pushing so much on this St. John's Tower, Medicon Village. If you have heard about it, it's basically a neutral loop system where the water is in the ground, it's serving as a big storage, and 2 pipes are connected in each building via heat pumps and can provide heating and cooling at the same time. I like to call this the last generation district heating, because you don't need insulated pipes anymore. You can just do this like it is, and you can actually augment it quite easily if demand increases, and you could also build it back if demand is reduced. It's a perfect solution for all these waste heat streams that we have. If this was existing next to the European Parliament, we wouldn't need most of these air handling units on the roof, because the waste heat from the cooling would simply go into the underground, into that grid, and could be used elsewhere, maybe to heat the Excel swimming pool or others. Allow me one word of advertising. If you go to the next slide, we have a Decarb Cities conference that we organized together with the city of Vienna. We are at the moment writing the program. So if any of you says, well, that would be perfect to bring in the Forerunner idea and the Forerunner Group for a track, or maybe for 2 tracks where we want to discuss and want to tell the world what we are doing, this could easily be done, because we're really early in the development. Next slide. This is the Heat Pump Award. We just finished the guidance today, the selection of the winners. I can't disclose, of course, but it also has a decarb industry category for big heat pumps and a heat pump city of the year for city support with heat pumps. And we will announce the winners on the 29th of September in Brussels. If you make it to Brussels, we also have a conference, the Heat Pump Forum, the same day. There will not be too many people, so don't be afraid, but it will be a very nice event. If you look at the agenda, it's really great, and I'm very happy. I will be there for sure. Then 2 considerations at the end. The main challenge that I see at the moment is really the cost side. We are talking with policymakers that say, no problem, we have now given you all the support that you needed, but we still have the situation that the operation costs are often slightly higher than oil and gas. That's actually closing that gap. But then the investment costs, but the operations costs are still higher, and that's mainly the result of taxation levels on electricity. So that even for people that say, but we would want to do it, we might want to replace our oil and gas boiler, they are not doing it yet, because they say, but then our heating costs, and that means in your case, or in the case of the district heating industry, the provision cost of heat as a service will increase. And that's why we as EHPA, we lobby very, very strongly in favor of reviewing this taxation levels and balancing better in terms of CO2 emissions, the taxation, the levies on the different energy carriers. With that, I close. Thank you very much. On the last slide, we have painted a picture. We think that 100% renewable cities, 100% renewable society is possible. It will require heat pumps. It will require a strong cooperation of all the people in this room. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Thomas. That was incredibly interesting. I think I want to open it up and just see if anybody would like to come forward with any questions. There's lots of interesting points in the presentation there, but I just wonder if anybody's got any to come forwards. If not, I have 1 or 2 for you. Maybe I'll start, and then if anybody wants to raise their hands. I think Thomas was really interested in obviously the ambient loop being the sort of the holy grail of heat networks in front of us, and obviously a fantastic opportunity for heat pumps to then operate. Obviously better to manage demands, but I mean, you mentioned one there. Is that something that you see coming through more quickly now? Are there some more good examples out there for people to see and have a look at?
Yeah, I don't know many examples, but I know that quite a few governments are supporting that idea now. The German government has made a specific research grant for neutral loop networks. They call it Energie, so there's a number of terms for this, but what it says in the end is that you will not need to insulate the pipes in the ground a lot. You just use them as big storage. That's probably the only one that I know where there's, and the Austrian government I think has the same. And then what we see is that in many smaller installations where the heat pump is basically providing heat and cooling for 3-4 buildings, then this is the natural engineering logic. So you don't start by saying, let me do 120 degrees or 90 degrees. You say, well, that's much too expensive, and I will do it on a much lower level. But I see it coming because it will be cheaper than the rest. Yeah,
I mean, if you're creating that borehole, if you're extracting that water, and that can be done safely, then you then why go about heating it? Why not just transport it as it is? I think I just saw a question flash up. I'm sorry, I didn't get the name of someone asking about could you share the details of the example you put forward? I suppose the other thing I was thinking about with regards to heat pumps is the opportunity for them to interact with existing heat networks. So rather than having to, sorry, Marcus, it was you that asked a question. Would you like to speak? Sorry, and unmute yourself.
Well, you could continue with your question first, but being from the city of Lund, I just said I recognize what you just told us, that the heat pumps are more and more integrated into the district heating network. We are recovering waste heat, heating it up to 65 degrees and then inject it into the system. So we see it more and more. So I can just confirm what you just said.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, I mean, and it does seem to be. I also like the information you put forward about engineering skills coming forward. That the solutions and the knowledge and all those things are out there, and it seems to be that we're now at a point where these things are now coming together and making themselves available, potentially from forums that weren't previously thinking about net zero or decarbonisation. So yes, it's a very interesting opportunity. Did anybody else want to ask a question at all for Thomas?
I have a question.
Please go forward.
Yeah, so with regarding to these neutral loops, you mentioned there's not a lot of maybe examples just yet on that, but is it seen that the heat pumps would typically be inside the building enclosure or outside the building enclosure, like what you see today with the air source? You have
in this case, you wouldn't have an air source heat pump because the air source heat pump takes the energy from the ambient environment. And in the ectogrid case, the heat that it's basically for those people that are very familiar with district heating, this is like a handover station, just a bit bigger, because you have a heat exchanger plus, and the plus will be that the heat exchanger transfers the energy to the refrigerant, and then you operate it with the refrigeration machine. You increase the pressure, you increase the temperature, and then you will have the temperature that you need in the house. So that's what it is, and that's where you would have the outdoor unit. And in this case, the heat pump is basically a geothermal unit. So it's a geothermal type of unit. Only it uses the energy grid, the neutral loop, as energy source or as energy sink if you have cooling requirements.
Another question's just come through there, Thomas, on, I hope that's okay for you, George. Any thoughts from Thomas on requirements for skilled technicians? Is that,
Yeah, we think that that's always a very good question because it's also disputed if we have enough skilled labor. My personal opinion will be the installers that I know, they are quite smart people. They install what the end consumers demand. And at the moment, the end consumers demand oil and gas boilers, at least at 50% still, even in new builds, because for them, it's what they know or what they find is cheapest or what they find is easiest. So it's really cost, convenience, and trust in the technology that we need to overcome. So I would say we have for sure enough installers to do that. We may not have enough planners. So this like one level above skill that might integrate the different building requirements or the different user requirements, that seems to me not sufficiently built up. there is some opportunity because we could also use computer technology, geographical information systems, etc. But I would say that this planning skill is what we need more, and then the installers will come if demand increases.
Yeah, I'd echo that from my own experience. I think as well the technical knowledge of those who are the mechanical engineers, let's say, that are bringing forward the designs, they need to be upskilled to be able to understand the differences between the operating characteristics of a heat pump system and how that then can interact with an existing system. So a couple more questions here. So I've heard a major downside of ambient loop solutions is the business model. Delivering warm water is not financially viable as you can't charge enough for it. So none of the large heat network developers want to deliver them because they don't like the model.
I don't know if that was true, then we wouldn't have any district heating system, right? Because you're not delivering anything else but warm water. So I think it's, at least in this one case, it is happening, and there's other bodies that are working in that direction. I personally think from this ease of a solution and the simplicity of the solution, it must become successful. It's so simple, and I could talk to you for at least for an hour about this, because I have a personal interest in this, and it's just a contractual question that would not make you find it interesting. And of course, it's really a question of electricity prices. But we see quite positive developments in order to change the electricity prices downward and increase the cost for oil and gas. So I'd rather be optimistic. If you can have a long-term heat delivery contract, then that's something that I could see happening. And why not? Because in the end, people need the heat. So if I can make a contract that says I deliver to you heat as a service, I even deliver to you cooling as a service when your temperature increases in your building, and you have nothing to do with the technology. Most people I know in my private environment, they would say, thank you, then we don't need to listen to Thomas anymore talking about this great technology, and we can just go on with our own business.
Exactly, and that is a big challenge as well, isn't it, about the operational maintenance side of things? Maybe not in some of the heavy industries, but definitely in terms of new developments, new offices, new homes, those sorts of things. So it's very attractive from that perspective. One last question is about ambient loops again, saying that the water is not hot enough to charge for it. No, that's the issue. No, that's the same question. Oh no, sorry, above it was individual building VRF systems can be difficult to change over to connect to a district heat network. What type of interface between the primary and secondary side would be recommended? That's getting a bit tricky there. That might be
exactly.
One for Forerunner Groups. But
I would be happy to immerse myself into that question, but then it would need some more detail. And just like that, I could just speculate on why you could do this. But let me just say one sentence on this follow-up by John. You're right, of course, but you will not sell the lukewarm water. That will not be your business model. Your business model will be the heat at the end user's property. And maybe just one thought here, cities are building sewer systems, and I'm paying for a sewer system. Yeah, maybe they couldn't make enough money from it, but we all agree that we need a sewer system. So maybe we need a neutral loop in every city. And maybe that is a city task to make that available and then allow all the buildings left and right of the street to connect to it.
That's very cool. It's very cool. Something for us all to chew over more of in the future. I don't know if you want to stay with us, Thomas, for the rest of the session or not, or that's entirely up to you.
I would stay a few minutes. I have to run at about 3, so I will not stay long.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, so I'll go back over to our presentation then. Thanks very much for that. It's very interesting, and obviously we have your contact details, and if people are interested, then they can come in contact with you if that's okay.
Yeah, more than welcome, and we also have most of the manufacturers of this big kit in our membership. So if you have any specific question, we also have a working group. So if somebody says, I would like to have like a bit of a balanced perspective and input from many sides, we could present the respective problem at that working group and then let the providers of solutions speak. Which is also, by the way, a format that we have used at the last district Decarb Cities conference. We have just put the owners of the problems, like the city representatives, on stage. And they said, okay, we would like to decarbonize that quarter here. What do we do best? And the audience was the providers of solutions. That was very interesting.
Yeah, it sounds like a really good way of tackling the issue and also getting more access to the different types of knowledge and technologies that are out there. So sounds very good. Thanks very much again.
Bye-bye.
Right, I will see if I can share my screen again and come back to our presentation. See if I can do it in a different way this time. Right, that's where we were. Oh, and there was the last bit, sorry, about the Heat Pump Association. Sorry about that, Thomas, but we'll share the slides with everyone at the end of the session. Let's see if I can do. Right, so on to Celsius, and while we're here today, the different groups, the different focuses that we're talking about. So as Lars Larson and our other experts who will soon be talking, will tell you that the Celsius program has been through a number of different phases and different delivery focuses. And at this stage with our Forerunner groups, we're looking to focus on 5 key subjects or issues in relation to different heat networks. And these 5 subjects were brought about via reviews with the previous members of the Celsius project. And also the teams running it, to try and establish where the focuses should be and what were the key issues that that the different municipalities, different cities would like to focus upon. So from the financing, fossil-free heat networks, how do we get the most from the waste heat opportunities around us? The low temperature district heat networks that we've just been talking about as well, and also about how cooling comes into play with that. So I'm going to hand over to our experts from the different organisations, and they can introduce themselves and also talk a bit more about what it is that they'll be covering in these groups. So over to you first, Jorge, and are you okay to see the slide there? Are you okay to talk over the top of that?
Okay, yes, I am. Thank you very much. First of all, thank you for the invitation. I would like to start by saying that I'm not alone on this task, so I will be together with my colleague Elko Krasinga, that is also on the call from the NVGL. He will be supporting, hi Elko, he will be supporting on this activity. So going back a little bit, so basically we are from the Smart Cities Marketplace. The Smart Cities Marketplace is the marketplace of the European Commission when it comes to smart cities. And one of the tasks that we have is to link projects with investors. So that's something that we do on this marketplace. And following that work that we are doing, we have develop a masterclass on the topic. We have other tools and other means to do this, because we understand that it's not just to connect both parties, is also to build capacity among, especially on the developers, for them to understand the financial topics and the financial issues of the program. So having that in mind, we have been working with Celsius, and we were challenged for this program, and that's the idea that is behind this group. So basically we will have these 4 sessions that you see here, and the idea is to bring with this co-development a plan, what we call intake form. So basically develop all the information regarding the finance of a certain project in a way that this project can be presented to investors. And for that, we will be talking about this Smart City Guidance Package and the checklist that involves. Although it's designed for smart cities, it can be applied for certain technologies. Can be applied for a project on district heating, or the use of a specific technology inside of the district heating. Then we will be talking a little bit about the finance aspects when you design your plan. For instance, finance versus funding, where we should use one or the other, risk analysis, business development, and then putting the perspective of the investor. So inviting the investor to present their perspectives and how this will fit with sustainable finance, because we understand that the topics of sustainable finance is a key element on the process. And last, it will be when we hope to have one project that has been selected from the spearhead city or even from one of these forerunner cities that can pitch, that can present the project. We can evaluate, review, and take some lessons learned together with all the members of this group. So this is the process. So basically the idea is to go from one concept, one idea to a mature project that can be delivered. We understand that this is just one part. We are not talking about the technology side. We are talking just about the finance side. But the idea is to help to bring this topic to the table and co-develop this with all the involved members. So I've been talking for too long. Elko, do you want to say something that I've missed here?
No, I think it's a perfect summary. Thanks, George. Yeah. So indeed, so moving from to actually doing having matchmaking meetings with a growing number of investors in our investor network, and they're clearly interested in infrastructure type projects. So I think that's a very good fit.
That's great to hear. Thanks very much, both of you. It's a obviously very interesting and important subject. So it's great to have that opportunity for people to engage with you and sort of share and learn as they move through the different sessions we have. So moving on to fossil free. Henrik isn't actually able to be with us today, so I'll hand over to Lars and Oksana to talk through the program and where we are with this interesting topic.
Thank you very much, Oliver. So my name is Oksana and I'm a project manager at Euroheat and Power, in charge of knowledge transfer and communication activities. I've been involved in a number of EU-funded projects focusing on the integration of renewable energy sources, retrofitting district heating and cooling networks, and also integration of low-temperature waste heat sources in district heating and cooling. So my role within this Forerunner Group is to be a base expert and to help participating cities identify and address their key challenges. The purpose of this group is, as it stands from the title, is to remove fossil fuels as energy sources in district heating networks. It's quite a big group. I'm happy about it. So we've got Regeia is the energy agency in Croatia, but also cities from Croatia, Rijeka, Vukovar, an Austrian city, Innsbruck, and a Serbian city, Belgrade, on board. And the last round of this Forerunner Group, we focused on Belgrade because it was our spearhead city. So we discussed waste heat recuperation, renewable energy sources, and storage possibilities. I was happy to witness that Belgrade was very much inspired by the presentation of our experts on geothermal possibilities. And they are also now benefiting from a free feasibility study on waste heat integration from metro stations into the district heating network. So these kind of results make us very happy. It means that cities look into different solutions and they get expert support depending on their questions. This time we do not have a spearhead city, and the topics we will be focusing on during our meetings will be more cross-cutting. So as you see on the first meeting on the 28th of September, we will talk about policy and planning, and basically how to create a national framework for decarbonizing heating and deploying energy efficiency solutions. So we will invite an expert on heat zoning. For those who are not familiar with the concept, it's about taking a view of local opportunities and limitations, also considering the most appropriate heat and decarbonization solutions for that area in consultation with local stakeholders. We will talk about bottom-up approach, meaning how the local policies, city policies can influence the national approach. So what's in the local pipeline, let's say, and how it can incentivize the integration of renewables. And we will touch upon national recovery plans. I don't know if all city representatives are aware of the Recovery and Resilience Facility That's an EU instrument that will provide grants and loans. And EU countries had to submit national recovery and resilience plans that describe the reforms and investment projects that they plan to implement with the support of this facility. And we will look into whether district heating and cooling are included in these plans and how it can help develop these projects. During the second meeting on the 2nd of November, we will talk about building site optimization, because it's obvious that integration of renewables cannot be done without tackling this building site retrofit. So we will invite experts on district heating development, and even in those countries where we first need to remove individual heating solutions, and also how to combine it with other types of infrastructure, for example, gas or even sewage, as Thomas mentioned. We will bring some interesting examples from London and Vienna. We will talk about building-based energy grids, so please feel free to join this meeting. And we will also invite experts on substation upgrade, presenting different technology solutions. On the meeting on the 23rd of November, we will discuss variable pricing models. So how heat can be sold at varying price depending on the demand at a certain time or certain region. And we will also present you some project results about pricing scheme that optimizes the return temperature. So if these topics, or at least some bullet points that I mentioned, are interesting for you, feel free to join the meetings of this Forerunner Group. We will be happy to see new faces, and also we will be happy if you contribute to these discussions and exchange with cities. Thank you for your attention.
Thanks very much, Oksana. It's an incredibly interesting set of talks there. I know it's a very important issue, so thanks very much for your time. I hopefully look forward to hearing more about it. So moving on, talking about our waste heat Forerunner Group. Pauline, would you like to introduce yourself and tell us more about the Forerunner Group, please?
Absolutely. Thank you, Oliver. So my name is Pauline Lucas. I am part of your Heat and Power policy team, and there I lead activities on renewables and waste heat, among other topics. And therefore, I am supporting the waste heat recuperation group within Celsius. So the objective of this group is to really help cities tap into waste heats, be it tertiary sources such as data center or industrial higher temperature sources. And this use of waste, it should help cities decarbonize or at least optimize city district heating systems. So we already have a number of cities in this group, such as Islington Borough in London, or Vilnius, Dublin, which was our first spearhead city, Hengelo, Riga, Madrid, and Strasbourg, which was our second foreigner city. So, well, as we have seen with our two terms already of this group, is that waste heat recovery projects are really different from each other. They vary according to different local circumstances, the temperature of the heat source, the distance, the type of source used is really different, but they have many common challenges. So, for instance, finding the right business model. This kept us busy in terms also of pricing of the heat, the cooperation with the waste heat owner, integrating low-grade heat. But I think in general, what we can really keep in mind is that the exchange is, of course, beneficial for the spearhead city. But also, I think it's a source of inspiration and reflection for the other members of the group, and even sometimes for the experts that are participating. in the meetings. So these terms, we will not focus particularly on a city, but we will have follow-up discussions on key topics that the cities have identified before the summer. So this certain topics are coming back often, and what we want to do is deepen a little bit and go more and more concrete on examples and cases that we study. So in this term, we will have 3 sessions. We are currently looking for experts, but they will come from district heating operators or utilities, but we will also have researchers or equipment manufacturer or software providers, for instance. So the first session on the 5th of October will be about engaging with waste heat owners, and in particular contract examples. So trying to invite waste heat owners to dig a little deeper into the contracting aspects and see real life examples of contract and clauses as much as it will be permitted. We will also discuss the qualification of waste heat sources to answer the question. So if a city has access to many different types of waste heat sources, how do you prioritize which source is best to use in the district heating? And we will also, there is a third very important aspect, which is risk management. So we will also touch upon this aspect of risk management with regards to the waste heat supply. So during the second session of the term, we will focus on technological developments. So as we have seen during the introduction, heat pumps are really crucial for system integration and energy decarbonization in general, but even more for waste heat, as most of the time you need an upgrade of the heat. So we will look into technology. And we will also look into optimization with thermal storage integration, as well as heat management software and modeling. And there we will have experts from a company that will present their software and their approach and show what kind of benefits you can have from the use of this type of softwares. Last but not least, on 18th of November, we will dig into local regulatory framework, and in particular, Dublin will present all the work that they've been doing in terms of heat mapping, which is really important to match the demand and the supply and look for your waste heat source. So John will present their work from the CODIMA, from the Energy Agency. And we will also discuss heat planning, so different regulatory options that you have to make sure that you have enough customers, for instance, when you build or extend a network, and what kind of tools municipalities can use to incite waste heat recovery. So yeah, and then this will lead us already to our concluding session, end of mid-December.
Again, it's a fantastic overview of waste heat issues, and I can see it. You know, in my mind, I can see some previous organisations that I've worked with. If I could sit them in front of that, I could see that they would then be able to take a step forwards towards using some of the waste heat options in front of them. So it's really very interesting. Thanks very much, Pauline.
Thank you.
So we have the low temperature district heating next, and Gabrielle, I believe it's over to you this morning, please, or this afternoon.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you at the moment. Yeah, my name is Gabrielle Fisher. I will be one of the 3 base experts of the low temperature district heating, and I will be also the base expert in the finances group. Yeah, I'm project and sustainable finance manager at Untitled Power. And I have been involved in Celsius, say, already for 1 year. And I already collaborated in this previous low temperature district heating, which group in which we had a very nice, I would say, interesting, inspiring conversation. As we said before during Novak's presentation, low temperature district heating is not anymore an emerging, say, phenomenon in the district heating field, but is one of the most important trends now that is leading the so-called 4th generation district heating network to the 5th generation, even though even the most technical people are not so agreeing on this, labeling generation. But anyway, the reduction of temperature in district heating networks entails a lot of challenges, not just from the technical point of view, but also from the policy legislation point of view. And for municipalities and public authority, it's something that they have to take in mind in the future development of their network, or also to adapt I'll say the urban environment to this new kind of technology. As you know, the reduction of temperature allows the integration of a lot of new heat sources, starting from the waste heat, as we said, but not only. But also it is a lot of problems in terms of energy efficiency of buildings, urban planning, and digitalization. So in this time, I'm really glad to see that we're going to have quite new cities compared to the previous group, even extra-European cities like Medfield from the USA. So I'm really excited to hear that. It's not so easy to have, say, American city discussing with us on this, but we're going to have Dublin, Innsbruck, Vilnius, who is one of our, say, usual suspect, let's call it, on the LTDH, as we had already a great discussion in the previous edition of the group, Copenhagen, Umeå, and Lund and Riga. I'm not a technical expert. I'm not an engineer, but in my experience, I was involved in already 2 projects dealing with low temperature district heating, in particular CoolDH, in which Lund is one of the really forerunner city, along with Markus Polso that I saw in the list of the participants of today's meeting. And I'm really proud to say that there they are building the world largest low temperature district heating network. So, you know, I'm really, I'll say, excited to discuss and to have, you know, comparison with all the experience of the cities, because, you know, there are a lot of topics to talk about. Just going through the agenda, the first meeting will be the 16th of September, even though maybe will be postponed. Oliver, I know, because
yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry, Gabriella. I should have updated that one. We're going to have to reschedule that meeting. Probably move the meeting dates down the calendar, but we'll update that and share that with everyone in due course. Sorry about that.
No worry. Just to, I'll say, announce this, maybe I'll say likely postponing of the meeting, because we are struggling a little bit with the experts. So the first topics will be quite simple, say, less technical. So lower the temperature examples. So we're gonna go through some best practice along all around Europe, and in particular also the retrofitting buildings. As you know, say the level of efficiency, energy efficiency of buildings is one of the key to have you know, a lower temperature in the network. Then on the 7th, we're gonna speak about storage, in particular about using buildings for storage. It's one of the, I would say, latest discussion on seasonal storage, and also about the flexibility of the network, you know, to use the network as supporting infrastructure for other energy systems. And the seasonal storage, of course, the less is the lowest is the temperature, I would say, the higher is the difficulty to store enough amount of energy. And then, of course, we're going to speak on the 4th of November about the engagement stakeholder. So let's say the demand side the demand side topic of all the matter. So prosumers, of course, as I said, you know, this I would say low amount of thermal energy can allow to give the possibility to make the consumer also producer. And of course, all the subjects regarding the contracting incentives for I would say the use of this kind of network. Of course, it's not so simple. There's no standardization in these, so it would be very nice to hear from different experiencing and also I'll say municipal energy authorities, how they are dealing with these problems and opportunities. And of course, as usual, the last meeting will be, I would say, the occasion to speak about the lesson learned, to evaluate, and so, you know, to present the new candidates and selecting the new Spirit city. Thank you very much. I'm really, you know, open and available for any kind of question you wanna drop me an email. I think you will find my email address somewhere else. So thank you.
Thanks very much, Gabrielle. It's an amazing opportunity to learn from all these different cities and the work they've already undertaken. So again, looks like a fantastic group and lots to be learned from that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And then over to our last city, I think if I've counted it correctly, on topic of cooling, and Julia, over to you just to introduce yourself and give us a run through of what is ahead for our potential cities.
Thank you very much, Oliver. Hi, everyone. My name is Giulia Fornione, and I work as a policy officer at Euroheat and Power. Among my tasks, I'm also coordinating the activities of the cooling working group within the Euroheat. And that's why today I'm here and I'm one of the base experts of the Forerunner Group on cooling. So as you know, cooling is gaining more and more momentum with temperature rising all over the world, and it's set to become even more prominent in the years to come. And that's why I believe this is a very important Forerunner Group. And I would like to invite more cities to take part to it. Right now we have as Forerunner cities Vilnius in Lithuania and Gothenburg in Sweden. We don't yet have a spearhead city, so it might be an opportunity for some of you to become one. Our first meeting will take place, first of all, the purpose of this meeting is, of course, to deploy efficient and sustainable cooling system. And during these the meetings that we're going to have in the course of the next months, we're going to explore how to do that. The first meeting will take place on Tuesday, 21st of September, and it will provide an overview of the existing cooling technologies. We already have some speakers who have confirmed their availability to attend, but we're still looking into more. So again, speakers will include experts coming from utilities as well as research center, university, and city as well. Then the second appointment will be on Tuesday, 12th of October, when we're going to explore more about the network development, cooling for residential area, improving the capacity and network optimization, as well as how to attract new customers. The third meeting taking place on the 9th of November will focus mainly on customers engagement. And then we're going to have a session, the last session before the conclusion, will focus on financing and business models. Finally, the last session will take place on the 14th of December. And it will be also an opportunity to select the new spearhead city. And I truly hope we will find one before selecting the one for the next term. So I'm a base expert together with Lars and Eric. So feel free to email us directly if you're interested in getting to know more information about this group. And we will be happy to answer all of your questions.
Again, thank you very much. It's an amazing group there, and a really important issue, cooling and how we sort of balance out heat networks, the summer, the winter loads, and how we can make a more efficient use of those sorts of systems. So very interesting topic, and thanks very much for presenting that for us. we have just a little bit here about the sort of the dynamics of the groups, of how they work. So we have these 2-hour meetings every month, just on the specific topics with those experts, as are already outlined. We have a central area where we'll be able to share information, looking at the agendas, notes, sharing files, follow-up discussions. You know, we can share those specifically via email, or we have a team systems which we can use, or however suits you best. And then obviously, as we've seen, we have this ongoing series of events, webinars, and there is also a Celsius Summit coming up as well. So lots of good reasons to get involved, in addition to all of the amazing technical expertise that you'll be able to access. So we've got a free for all session really set out now, and I was wondering if anybody has any specific questions for the experts, to either raise your hands or just to jump in and start talking to us. I did have one actually myself, as maybe to get it started, and Pauline, you did a really good explanation of it as I was thinking of it. So you might end up just regurgitating what we've already said, but it was really in relation to if you're new to the Forerunner Groups as a new city, and the value of having experts for each of these groups, and also the existing cities that as Forerunner Groups. You know what? I was wondering about what the benefit for a new city. How easy, what the benefit is. How can we quantify that benefit for the new cities of having these existing projects that they can interact with and learn from?
Yeah, I think it's what is described in the Celsius Forerunner group page. It's really a sounding board. So I think it's an opportunity for cities to exchange with each other and to benefit from the project and the knowledge that has been built by the city already in the group. And I think you can arrive at any moment, whether you've been here from the beginning or whether you just joined. As I said, it's always the same topic, and we are just going deeper and deeper. Sometimes it might feel a little repetitive, but I think there are always new questions that are coming up. So, and it's really tailored. When we had the Forerunner city, so every meeting, the Forerunner or the Spearhead city was presenting a specific aspect of the project, and then the other were reacting, and it's very informal. So then there is really a discussion on the specific aspect. But now we will try to just give the opportunity to everybody to bring their own questions and discuss this aspect all together.
I think that's really interesting, isn't it? Their own perspective. Go on, Oksana.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that in terms of the European projects and the expertise that we can bring from the European projects, many of them are actively looking for replication cases. So they have implemented some solutions. They have gone through their errors and trials process, and they're looking into replicate the solutions all over Europe. And this is a free service that can be used by our Celsius cities, because there is nothing required from their side, just to provide some information and food for thought if they are interested. So as I mentioned, waste heat recovery or renewables, integration of renewables, these activities can be taken care by the European projects. So here I just want to mention that we will bring in experts from the projects RES DHC, Upgrade DH, and Reuse Heat, so working on waste heat recovery, Cool DH, Gabrielle's side, and any other contacts we've made in the framework of the European projects.
Sounds brilliant. Sounds good. So is there any questions from anyone on any of the topics on the cooling, waste heat? Go for it, Jose. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon from Valencia. I've listened in your different presentations, and it seems like Central Northern European cities are more familiar with this type of solution, but more and more when we try to improve energy efficiency in the overall system, also med cities, southern cities in Europe ought to engage. But I would say there is an extra gap in the sense that there is no such a conscience about this kind of infrastructure. So how would you propose to address this extra mile gap, I would say?
It's quite a question. Has there anyone got a response ready for that?
I think one of the solution is what we are doing right now, in the sense that European Union is putting a lot of money on initiatives such as Celsius One to, I'll say, help all cities from Europe, so not just Central and Northern European cities, to see that there are solutions, they are replicable. And I think the real aim is to, I would say, help cities that doesn't have an extensive network. Because of course, a city like, I would say, the Danish or the Swedish one, they are already in the future. So they are here to bring us the example, so, and say that we did like that, you can do the same with the right support. So what I suggest is to, I would say, share the word about this kind of initiative. If you are, say, collaborating with other cities in your region or in your, say, networks of mayors and so on, to say, hey, there are this kind of initiative, participate, it's free. And there are experts, and you can, I would say, listen from best practice and help you like that. And if I can say, you know, as base expert also in the financing group, it's a little bit a pity to see that the lowest number of cities in that financing group. And really, I would like to really suggest that you take part also in that group, because without money, you cannot do anything. You know, that's something, you know, we can speak about, you know, the greatest skyrocket science, district heating, but without the support of investors and money and grants, you cannot do anything. So, and we have plenty of examples of how cities leverage investments in this field. And sometimes, you know, Southern European cities lack of this financing, because of course the district heating is not one of the priority in the energy, I would say, roadmap of the region or state member state. So there are many ways to leverage money to accomplish, to achieve your project in district heating. So really, please try to, I would say, also join our group in financing, because we won't speak about green bonds and very, you know, ESG, very technical finance stuff. You know, we're gonna give some example, very practical example about how can city can leverage investment from the private sectors and also from the public sector. And yeah, stop here. Sorry, I don't want to talk too much. I don't know if my colleagues wants to say more.
Thank you. First of all, Gabrielle, sorry for not calling you when I presented the group. Sorry for that. But yes, in fact, it's a good point that you mentioned there. So we will not be using the jargon of the financial industry. So we will not be using technical, so technical that no one can understand. So the idea is just to go to the basis and explain exactly what you need to provide, and using the language that people are used to deal with. So that's what we try to do. We try to make it simple from both sides from them to understand. So we will bring investors, etc. But the idea is to bring them and put them with a nice conversation where they don't use their usual jargon, but they adapt to everyone's needs, and especially for the cities who don't have this, usually they don't talk about this part so much, because they talk about engineering and other parts more often. So it's a way to bring that in the way that it's more understandable by everyone. That's what we want to do. Thank you.
Yes, incredibly important, and trying to get those figures out initially, get some buy-in into those figures, so that as the project develops, nobody's too scared by it. They understand what the numbers are we're talking about, and how that's all going to be recouped through the process. So it's very important. I just wonder, Jose, if you wanted to say anything more about the project that you're working on, or anything about where you are in the process. You know, some more information might help us to work out how we can support you better.
Thank you. I must say I'm closer to the industry rather than the city, but most of the time my main question when talking about transitioning in the energy system is how do we change the model? For instance, in this kind of southern cities, the current model is as inefficient as simple, because you go and buy an individual air conditioner and the stuff is done. So if in any city which has no preliminary infrastructure, we need to tell the story. The bad news is that we start talking about digging, building infrastructure, and I don't know in your places, but in my city, the policy guys will run away. So how to start the story? Even within the utility sector, lately they are starting the story saying we want to digitalize, not to dig holes on the ground, because they realize that then the policy guys don't run away. So they start talking about we put sensors throughout the city, we get data, and then in a couple of years we start talking about digging holes and putting some infrastructure as a way of conveying the story, because when there is no really this kind of device, they are familiar with water, for instance, they are familiar with water efficiency systems, also with the electricity grid, but really when there is no such a culture for cool and heat of even if the financial group, let's say, managing this kind of change is even as important as the financial themselves. So that would be my point. So, and always happy to listen to learn about this kind of stuff.
If I may, one of the suggestions will be start small and showcase best practice examples. And in Spain, if we're talking about Spain, there are some already implemented low temperature grids, ultra low. I'm myself involved in the reuse heat project, and one of the demo cases is a waste heat recovery from the hospital operation rooms. So they recover waste heat from the cooling of these operation rooms, and they reuse it in the local district heating network supplying the hospital and the campus. So there was no need to dig holes and for major infrastructure works, but it's working and it can be replicated elsewhere. So just if you're interested, I can provide you more details on this. And maybe the waste heat recovery group can also help look into these solutions.
I won't miss the choice, the opportunity. So thank you so much, Oksana.
Great, thanks for your question. Is there anybody else who'd like to come forward with anything? We have a bit of time, and I think I've talked enough. Come on, don't be shy.
So maybe it's important to say, no, go ahead, Pauline. But no, at the end of the meeting, it's important to say how to join if somebody is interested, also on both sides, as CD and as an expert.
Yeah, so we have another slide on the join, also the website and all those sorts of things. So I'll bring that up. Thank you very much.
I just wanted to say that I see a few cities from my group. I won't mention, I don't want to put people on the spot, but sometimes it's nice, better than my perspective on the group. I always enjoy it because it brings a lot of inspiration and a lot of knowledge from what's going on the ground. But the other cities that benefited, maybe if they want to say a word of their experience, I think there is nothing better than direct testimony of how this group went and what it brought, but not putting anyone on the spot.
It's very good to hear, you know, other who's involved and all those sorts of things, but maybe we can do those on a smaller setting if nobody wants to come forward right now. Yeah, and I think also in general, anyone who's participating, it'd be great to hear from you. Like to, you know, send us an email, tell us that where you are and what you're up to, and what sort of projects you're thinking about, any sort of issues you have. You know, we're happy to take those directly through the Celsius email, or you can send them directly to each of the experts you've seen today. If we know where you are and what sort of things you're up to, we know we can then make sure we're trying to tailor the information towards your needs, basically. So we'll share all that information as you need it. So firstly, to point you to the celsiuscity.eu website. On there's the Forerunners tab, which takes you directly to this group and all the information on there on the Forerunner Groups, but also gives you all the background information about the program, the Celsius program. To get in touch with us, if you haven't got anyone's specific email, or you just wanted a general get in contact, we have the celsius@johannabergsciencepark.com email address. And I'll go through to myself and Sophia, and we can then direct your inquiry, either respond to ourselves or direct it to the right expert. If you'd like to join the group, please do contact us. We'd just like to hear from you, even if you're just a bit unsure, you'd like to learn a bit more about how it might work or what the commitment is, then yeah, please let us know. We look forward to hearing from you. And then also we're looking for, like as Oksana said, some guest experts, and these the information on how to share your information, your knowledge, that can be found from the Celsius website, and there's a form available for you on that web page. And then just really thanks very much for everyone for joining. Then this is an exciting program with lots of amazing experience and knowledge, and some great case studies out there. You know, we're not alone in this. You know, there's lots of stuff that you can learn and take from those that have already developed and delivered these projects, and that they're still now looking to improve the efficiency of as well. So yes, we look forward to hearing from you. I don't know if anybody else would like to say another few words before we close the meeting. Right, well, thanks very much. Thanks very much, everyone, for your time, and I welcome you all to the next meeting when that comes forwards. We'll look forward to talking to you again in the future. Thanks very much, everyone.